Please welcome Patty Mars, MIT.
Hi, my name is Patty Maas, and I'm a professor at the MIT Media Lab. I'm proud to introduce Graviky Labs, a spin-off from my lab at MIT. The vision of Graviky Labs is to develop solutions to address global warming through replacement of petroleum as the source of materials of everyday use. In the first 4 years, the company tackled the problem of air pollution by upcycling fine particulate matter into valuable products like ink. They bootstrapped a sustainable novel circular economy around it for developing countries. They also partnered with companies like Dell, MasterCard, and Pangaea to bring air ink products to market and engage thousands of artists and product designers who have used air ink to express their vision of sustainable living. More recently, the company has started looking at the larger problem of CO2 and is developing a technology stack to turn CO2 emissions into higher hydrocarbons, such as fuels, polymers, and more, basically building a tunable reactor to turn environmental CO2 into green materials. Graviky Labs has already demonstrated real-world impact through air ink, and they have an exciting vision for growing their impact. I therefore hope that they become the Falling Walls Venture Science Startup of the year 2021. Thank you very much.
Breaking the wall to upcycling CO2 emission. Aishwarya Das, Graviky Labs.
Hi, I'm Aishwarya Das. I head strategy and partnerships at Graviky Labs. Just about 250 years ago, Sir James Watt kick-started the Industrial Revolution by inventing the steam engine, the same revolution that is now threatening the very fabric of our human society. I did my undergrad in Delhi, and every year for 2 weeks, my university used to shut down due to excessive air pollution. Growing up in India, pollution is just a problem that stares you right in your face. Just to give you context, the Air Quality Index, or AQI, in Berlin today is 35. The AQI in New Delhi touched 450 yesterday. Over the years, petroleum has been an omnipresent source of fuels and other materials in our life. Along with that, the global shift of manufacturing to Asia has brought about fundamental changes in the consumption patterns and carbon emissions all across the globe. 4 years ago, Graviky was started with a vision to reimagine the Industrial Revolution, but this time without petroleum at the core of its growth. We started to build a portfolio of technologies that could sequester carbon emissions into everyday materials. Our first product, air ink, is the world's first ink made directly from carbon emissions. Traditionally, ink is made by burning fossil fuels. Our process sequesters the carbon emissions into the ink itself. Recently, we launched the first apparel line printed with air ink in collaboration with Pangaea. With Dell, we printed 2 million of their laptop boxes using our manufacturing ink. With MasterCard, we printed the world's first credit card using air ink. This ink has been sold in more than 70 countries and is currently being used by 5 Fortune 100 companies. We have been completely bootstrapped till now and have had revenues of more than $2 million till date. Air ink was also awarded as one of the best inventions by Time magazine for the year 2019. Over the years, through our learnings by replacing petrochemicals in conventional manufacturing process, it was time for us to target a more ambitious industry. It was time for us to target the polymer and the fuel industry. Now, just like how a plant takes in CO2 and solar energy to give you oxygen, our second product, AirSynth, takes in carbon emissions and green hydrogen to give you different petrochemicals like ethanol, ethylene, and syngas. These 3 chemicals are extremely important as they form the base layer of the petrochemical manufacturing industry. This white liquid, as some of you may have guessed, is ethanol and was directly made from CO2 emissions in our AirSynth reactor. Ethanol is an extremely important liquid as it's used for blending in petroleum that goes into your cars. It is also used for making alcoholic beverages like gin and vodka. With AirSynth, the potential of our products expands exponentially. By making TPU and PET from ethylene, we can make shoes, bags, laptop body, bottles, and even different parts of car bodies. With syngas, we can make sustainable aviation fuel. In the next coming months, we'll be piloting AirSynth with the same partners who have previously used Air Ink on their most premium products. At Graviky, we want to break the wall of industrial manufacturing. This time, instead of releasing carbon emissions, we'll be using them to create everyday materials. Thank you.
You still have 1 minute 30. Yes, straight to the point. Yeah. Okay, first question here in the first row, please.
Thank you. Energy input would be my question. How much electricity do you need to filter CO2, and how much
Right. So I'll just talk first about Air Ink, and then I'll go to AirSynth because we have two product lines. So with Air Ink, what we do is we basically partner with factories who have capturing technologies in their chimneys. And what they do is they basically capture all of this PM 2.5, PM 10. All of these factories are based around the Delhi region because that is where the excessive air pollution lies. So they give us that PM 2.5, PM 10. We keep it in our godown in Delhi. So right now we have around 3 tons of PM 2.5 in our godown, and we'll be using that to create ink. So traditionally the way that you make ink is by burning fossil fuels. So our process is energy efficient, and it doesn't use that much energy that you would see in a conventional process of manufacturing ink. With AirSynth, we are right now based out of Jaipur, which is in Rajasthan, and it has one of the best solar infrastructures all around the world. So this entire AirSynth system is powered by solar energy. Even the hydrogen that we get is by basically getting a water alkaline electrolyzer that splits the water into green hydrogen. So right now the energy consumption costs are a bit higher on the AirSynth side, but on the AirSynth side, we're just at a pre-pilot phase. We're still working on, this small ethanol vial of ethanol that I showed you was just a small batch that we made. But in the next 1 year, we basically plan to be at the energy efficiency scale.
Okay, the next question is from behind here, and then we will have the next one here in the front. Please articulate and speak loudly. Thank you.
Gunther Dunkel, Dunkel Investments. One of the questions is always cost competitiveness. Can you describe cost competitiveness for Air Ink and AirSynth in the context of scalability? Because otherwise it doesn't make sense to explain.
So that's a question that we always get. So Air Ink is currently 1.5 times the cost of a conventional ink. When we first started off, it was 5 times, and that was around 3.5 years ago. But what basically happens is when you make a technology like this and you bring out the product, once your clients start using that at scale, the price automatically comes down. So right now, the conventional price of an ink is $50. We are selling at around $80. But in the next 3 years, we'll be basically at a price parity. Now with AirSynth, that's going to take some time because we're still at a pre-pilot phase. We want to basically see how can you make ethanol more efficiently. And that price is directly attached to the price of a PEM electrolyzer because that is what AirSynth is. It's basically an electrocatalytic reactor. So as the price of electrolyzers come down, which we are seeing all around the world because there's been a huge push for green materials, that is when even the production for ethanol, ethylene, and syngas will also come down.
We have a question here at the front.
I just wanted to hear a little bit more about the carbon capture methodology. And a second question, what impact does carbon accounting play in your business model?
Right, so we don't do carbon capture. What we do basically is for Air Ink, as I said before, we partner with factories who already have capturing technology with them. We are a carbon utilization company. So for every liter of Air Ink, we basically sequester 500 grams of CO2. Now with AirSynth, again, we are basically partnering with carbon capture companies right here in Europe, and even one of the biggest oil and gas companies in Asia, who basically emit a lot of CO2. Now the idea is that we take the CO2 from there, and if you want to make 1 ton of ethanol, basically you take 1 ton of CO2 and you make 795 liters of ethanol. You can make 350 kgs of syngas, and you can make around 650 kgs of ethylene from that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm afraid we cannot take the last question. I'm sorry for that. We are very strict with time here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And then I'm going to thank you very much.